Hello, welcome to Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're going to be reviewing Pocket Farm. This is by Popcorn Games and Mandu Games.
Designed by Eric Hung. This is a little open card drafting game where you're building up cute fruit baskets on the ground, as one does.
Yes, over the clouds and the suns. All right, well, I'm going to show you briefly how this is played, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts. Pocket Farm is a drafting game where players are going to be drafting cards, adding them to their farm, and then eventually multiplying the fruits next to baskets in their farms times whatever's left over here. So on a turn, players are going to be drafting cards. They're going to be paying the cost in the middle using clouds and suns, and I'll explain that later because it's a bit confusing. And then they're going to place down these cards, and then whatever card is left over is going to come over here and become one of the multiplier fruits. Players are going to do that around the table 12 times, taking turns with the cute little avocado first player marker as to who gets to choose first. And then at the end of the game, they're going to take however many fruits are in each pile and they're going to multiply them next to the baskets that they've activated. So for example, this raspberry over here has activated 4 basket points worth, but there's no raspberries over here in the scoring pile, so I would get 0 points for that raspberry. Now, on the other hand, we have avocados over here, and this basket is activated by 2 avocados, but it's only counted once because they're the same type of fruit. And so we would have 5 points times 2, so 10 total for avocados. Now, pineapples would work the same way. So over here we have 1 pineapple. It's next to 2 baskets, so it's times 2. So then we would have those 2 pineapples times these 2 pineapples, and we'd have 4 points. All right, so now let's talk about the more complicated part, which is actually how to play cards down and how to score them. All right, so when we have a single sun by itself, it is worth 1 point. If we have 2 suns that are adjacent to each other that we can cover up, then they are worth 2 points each, so this chunk would be worth 4 points. If we have 3 suns together, they are worth 3 points each, so if I cover up this, it would be worth 9 points. I'm sorry, I'm saying points, I mean buying power. Now, if I needed to just have 5 points right here, I have 3, 6, 9, but I could choose to cover up just 2 of them like so, and that would be 3 plus 3 because they were all in a chunk. But now this one in the future is only worth 1 because it's by itself. Now the clouds work just the opposite way when it comes to actual purchasing power. And so instead, a cloud that is by itself is worth 3 points because they're gloomy and they want to be lonely. A cloud that has 2 next to each other are worth 2 points each, and then clouds that have at least 3 together worth 3 points each. So once again, 1 point each. I said that backwards. They're worth 1 point each. So this right here, these would each be worth 1 point. Once again, when I say points, I mean purchasing power. So back into my main lineup over here, I have a single sun by itself, which is worth 1. And then each one of these clouds, because it's a set of 2, are worth 2 each. So it'd be 2, 4, 5, which is why I can place down this 5 right here. Now I don't want to place it this way because these baskets aren't being activated by very much. So instead I would turn it so that this apple can activate this basket as well as this raspberry can activate that basket. All right, so that the point system for being able to play cards out might be a little bit confusing, but once again, grab that lineup of cards, just draft 1 card. Whatever card is left over at the end will become the multiplier, and then you just multiply the points at the end of the game. And that's how you play Pocket Farm. All right, so I happen to say I really like this game. I think that it's super cute. And I feel like I've seen a lot of games that have the square cards with the 4 regions and you have to cover stuff up. But I think this is probably my favorite out of all the ones I've recently played in the last couple years.
It feels less restrictive. Like some games have that, you must cover, or, you know what I mean? There's more restrictions to it. This one, I think, feels less restrictive, but for the weird cost calculation.
I think that is the most confusing part of the game, and even as I was explaining it, I was saying points, because they're purchasing points. But it is, I think, the most confusing part. But once you understand that and you understand the price of things, I think that it's not a complicated game at all.
It can be explained very poorly, and also, you just need to kind of, the first few turns, like, clarify, hey, am I paying for this correct and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And it's neat because if you run into a difficult time later in the game being able to pay for things, it's because you set yourself up that way, right? Mm-hmm. And so the game's not afraid to say, like, whoops, you done messed up. But I think it's a game that you should play at least more than once, right? Because your first game, you might say, like, oh, I didn't have a lot of fun. My sons got too separated and everything. I can't pay for things. Well, who did that? You.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention in the overview is if you ever can't afford a card or you just want to hold on to a card and not play it out on your turn, you can play it on a later turn. It's just that the second card that you play on a turn does cost 2 more, so it's a little bit harder to get it out. But I do like that you can collect those. So sometimes the big cost cards, the 5s and the 7s, come out at the beginning of the game and you're like, well, can't afford that, and everyone else has taken the cheap stuff. So you can hold on to it for later, and you can kind of plan for that and feed the market at least a little bit of those multipliers because you know what you're going to bring out.
You also have to keep in mind that you score per basket, not per fruit, right? So you want to have lots of different fruit adjacent to the same basket, which I think that's a nice puzzle, right? I think between that and the whole idea of whatever card you don't draft from the middle goes to the scoring multiplier pile.
Yeah.
Reminds me of games that I love.
Like Vegetable Stock.
Like Vegetable Stock, right? I love that mechanism. Evergreen, I think, is the plant game, or whatever action card is not drafted goes to the side. It's nice that whatever's, I don't know, it's a very simple way of saying, whoop, that affects score.
It is. So what score would you give this?
I find this one fun. I find that the explaining the purchasing power of clouds and sun, that's the most confusing part. It really does bring it down for me a bit, because even after playing it a few times, I'm sitting there going, like, I think I can afford this card. Oh no, I'm inversing what suns and clouds do and stuff. I like the game, and I think it's a fun puzzle, so I'm giving it a 7. I'm still recommending it. I think that it's neat. I think that it's quick. 12 rounds goes by just about right. It's about the right game length for me. I just think personally that, as I mentioned, Vegetable Stock does more with less, but this one is going to give you a different puzzly feel, so I could also recommend it and say you might like this.
Nice. I'm going to give this a 7.5. I think it's a solid game, and I very much recommend it. I think because it's little and it's light, I'm not seeing this as like an 8.5 or a 9 up there, but I do wonder if I continue to play this and this became kind of one of my daily, weekly game kind of things, if this would grow on me even more. But I really love the way that you have to set up your clouds and your suns. It's not just like straightforward, I have purchasing power, but instead you have to lay them out and you have to cover up some things that you may want. But you have to cover up some of those fruits so that you can get those really big cards. And so I really enjoy that. I think that it's a very clever game. And like I said at the beginning, I think that this uses that mechanism of the 4-quadrant cards and covering up corners probably the best out of all the games recently that I've seen done, do that. So really enjoy Pocket Farm. Give that a 7.5. So this game is approved.
There you go. All right. Thanks for coming out to this review here on the Dice Tower. I'm Chris Yi.
I'm Wendy Yi.
And enjoy your fruit baskets.
In your pocket.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassett.